And with that, I want to say welcome home, movie lovers. It's your boy Rossi J, aka Ross Urso, back at it for your latest 2026 movie review. Today's agenda is The Devil Wears Prada 2. But if this is the first time you are stopping by on this channel, I want to say welcome home to you. Whether you're a movie fanatic like myself or simply wanting to know, is The Devil Wears Prada 2 worth the watch or not? You, my friend, have a friend in me, because my mission is to keep the spark of cinema alive and celebrate it with everyone that's along for the ride. And it all starts when you hit like, comment, and subscribe onto this video. I also highly encourage you to follow me on all of my other social media platforms. That's including my Instagram, X, Letterboxd, and TikTok. Thank you guys so much, and grazie. Full transparency, I never really had any sense of urgency to check out the first The Devil Wears Prada. That was, of course, before any sort of sequel was ever a thing. And just a couple weeks ago, I finally came around to the first film. I really connected with Anne Hathaway's character, especially for just how grounded and relatable she was. It makes a strong case that chasing material status and power can quietly cost you pieces of who you are deep down. You empathize with her struggle, but you also get to see the damage she does to the relationships around her without her ever truly realizing it until it's too late. Not something I was expecting. I mean,
hey, don't judge a book by its cover.
This is another classic example of that cliche that feels like it's been said to death, but I always thought this was like a girly movie that I just was never going to be on the same wavelength, even though to a certain degree that is still the case. There is that humane relatability that really caught me off guard and made me walking out of that movie saying, hey, that was actually a very solid movie for its time. At one time or another, we've all had those crappy bosses or draining coworkers that don't value our worth. We've received the nothing is ever good enough treatment. But something that first film embodies is true success is fulfillment and not selling yourself to the devil just to win the approval of people that are not yourself. This is where I kind of went into the second film with my guard up, because I knew I could be walking into a classic case of sequelitis, a trend in Hollywood that has been more and more saturated in the movie market, where all these sequels are coming out when there's not complete enough narratives attached to those movies. They are cash grabs and just a cheap excuse to get the original cast together, rely on nostalgia, and make a bunch of money. Yet at the same time, if it's truly been 20 years between the movies, there had to have been a story that they wanted to tell, right? So this is a perfect way to segue into what on earth is this movie about? Let me tell you. As Miranda nears retirement, she reunites with Andy to face off against her former assistant turned rival, Emily. And that's going to be the cookie cutter premise of The Devil Wears Prada 2. Cutting right to the chase. This is a sequel that dresses for the occasion once again, yet the story doesn't quite wear the same tailored, relatable appeal as its predecessor. That opening statement of mine doesn't suggest that this is a total dud, so I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, jumping on into the positives, I'm happy to report that the vibes, the wit, and energy aren't too far off from that first installment. And there's enough of change that doesn't make this watch a complete waste of your time. Needless to say, it is endearing just to see the cast back together, especially in the light of all these characters are in different stages of their professional career. They're not in the same place as they were 20 years ago, which I figure comes off as a, well, yeah, duh, I figure that should be the case, but it's still really important to point that out nonetheless. I'm seeing this film get teared to shreds with the fashion choices. I dug them, even though a lot of the outfits in here are outlandish, to say the very least. Just to give you a point of reference, I watched this movie with a snapback hat and a sports long sleeve t-shirt. So I felt like I was underdressed. And that's the whole point of Devil Wears Prada. It is a fashion oriented movie. It's just not nearly as streamlined or focused when it comes to the narrative, as I just thought that the story was a bit all over the map. and less tightly stitched together. There were a lot of other moving pieces that were going on, and I just felt like there wasn't that connective tissue or that streamlined idea. Instead, here there are ideas or different things going on that don't really feel like they're connected together as much as it feels like it actually is. Not only this, but there are some threads that come off as shoehorned in. Most notably, all of our main female leads are given pretty bare bone love interests that felt more like placeholders than characters that are actually moving the needle. In fact, most of the newcomers or supporting characters outside the returning people came off thin and very underdeveloped, which time back to Sequelitis. This is a classic trait that you notice in a sequel that doesn't make the follow-up nearly as fresh as the original. So, as you can imagine, this film at times felt like I was watching this sleek corporate Netflix production, mainly in the first 30 to 45 minutes, because there's not really much of a plot that kicks in. You're basically following and catching up with the characters, and it's like I was watching a nothing burger. Cough, cough, just like the majority of Netflix originals that are coming out. But when the actual plot is in motion, it's just not nearly as engaging or interesting. It just felt like these characters were on this giant field trip going from location to location. Nevertheless, I didn't walk out of The Devil Wears Prada 2 disappointed, as it is very much aligned with what I expected it to be in the first place. Like I alluded to earlier, the vibes and energy and wit and personality from the first movie gets transferred over here, which is a good thing and what you would want. And there is at least enough new material that it doesn't feel like you are wasting your time watching it. It's just one that you don't go out of your way to watch, if that makes sense. If you're a fan of the first movie, just be cautious and don't expect it to be better than the first one. Although I'm reading several people in my Letterboxd community saying this is better than the first one. So hey, who am I to judge? Maybe this movie will work better for you than it did with me. It's time for my final verdict of The Devil Wears Prada 2. Drum rolls, please. I'm gonna give The Devil Wears Prada 2 a... Bam, ba bam, and that's going to do it for this episode of Rossi Reviews. Before I sign off, what did I get it right? What did I get it wrong? I invite all of you to join me in my comment section so we can keep this lively discussion going. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you taking the time out of your busy day to check this movie review out. If you just enjoyed what you watched, I have a playlist on the screen that you can check out all my other 2026 movie reviews and you can catch up. But as always, keep on enjoying the movies one scene at a time. It's your boy Ross Urso, over out and cut.